We'll try and discuss, or rather deconstruct, the Bengal election results. And joining me this evening is Parakala Prabhakar, author, columnist, political analyst. Thank you so much, sir, for joining. And you wrote an article in Hindu, and since the time the election results came, I've been thinking of talking to you about how we unravel the myth behind the Bengal election results. People have been saying it was rigging. Mamata Banerjee went to the extent of saying that in at least 100 constituencies, the poll was rigged very badly. And she said she will go to the Supreme Court. She also made a statement saying that she will go to the International Court of Justice. Do you think that this election was really, really stolen?
Neelu, thank you very much for having me once again. I think your introduction very clearly said what the issues are. There's a lot of concentration by the ruling BJP NDA, and of course, a huge deployment of their own party leaders as well as the government agencies. It's very obvious. In fact, a lot of police stations were also taken over by the paramilitary central forces. But you see, I desist from looking at this as a question of who won and who lost, and on that basis, I do not want to do the analysis. In this, as well as in anything, as you know, I'm winner, loser, agnostic. I'm only trying to find out whether our electoral process has its desired integrity or not. This is the main thing. Now, when it comes to West Bengal polling and West Bengal, pace of polling, I have expressed serious doubts about it. Because, you see, in any election, there is a process of, I'm not bringing in the voter deletions and, people being prevented from coming to the voters' booth and polling it. That aside, but just that you have entered the booth, you must have voted for many number of times. I voted a number of times. Is it conceivable for you that in a polling booth, there's absolutely no downtime at all, either machine or personnel? Is it that, on a polling day for 10 hours, that is 60 minutes per hour, that is 600 minutes. In 600 minutes or 600 minutes, that you have absolutely no downtime at all, that, it is so super efficient that, anybody who goes in and comes out and continuously, so many people are polling, that's not possible. There are people, old people who take a little more time, young people who can take a little less time, and there are, of course, tea breaks, coffee breaks, because they say there are only 5 election commission personnel inside the booth. And they might go for a nature call, they might come back and sit down, and then, there might be a little problem with the EVM. It has to be changed or reset. There are so many things. That machine as well as the personnel. Now, in that situation, let us assume that there is no downtime at all. When there is no downtime at all, it's an assumption, and it is not practical. Assuming that there is no downtime, is it possible for a booth to have a voter casting his or her vote every 53 seconds? Is it possible? This is number one. If anybody thinks that
So you actually found that the voters in Bengal were casting votes every 53 seconds? At least that's what the picture looked like?
That's okay. So roughly 54 seconds, 53.7 seconds. So let's say 54 seconds. But that's the average number. Now, that 54 seconds would hide in its average 39 seconds or even 202 seconds. Because you see, Election Commission reports, the CEO has to report by convention, by rule, that every 2 hours, what is the polling? 7 to 9, 9 to 11, 11 to 1, 1 to 3, 3 to 5, and 5, and after that, whatever is the ending time. If you break down, I told you about 57 seconds on the whole, but if you break down, Neelu, you will have, if you want me to, give you an idea of how many seconds in each phase, in each of these time parcels, 7 to 9, 9 to 11, etc., the time taken by the voters. Now, in phase 1, Neelu, 7 to 9, it took only 42.2 seconds per voter to cast their vote.
42 point?
42.2 seconds.
42.2, okay.
9 to 11.
That means that one voter took about 42.2 seconds to cast his or her vote in the phase 1. Okay.
Yeah. Phase 1. No, between 7 and 9.
Between 7 and 9, yeah, right.
Between 9 and 11, it was 39.7 seconds only.
Okay.
Between 11 and 1, it took 42 seconds.
Okay.
Between 1 and 3, it is 53 seconds. And then comes 3 to 5 and 5 to end of the code. This is reasonable, this is real world. Between 3 and 5, a voter took 80 seconds to cast the vote.
Okay.
And between 5 and closing time, the voter took 140 seconds to cast the vote. Now, leave 3 and 5 and closing time. I want you to pay your attention to 7 to 9, 9 to 11, 11 to 1, and 1 to 3. That is between 7 and 3 o'clock. Now, you have 39 seconds, 42 seconds, 53 seconds. Is it possible to do that? Now, what does it involve? This is phase 1. Now, phase 2 is also very interesting. Very similar pattern. Phase 2. Phase 2, 7 to 9, 50 seconds. 9 to 11, 42 seconds. 11 to 1, 42 seconds again. 1 to 3, 52 seconds. And then comes the real world time. 3 to 5, 81 seconds. And 5 to closing time, it is 272 seconds. Now, I just told you this, don't get confused, because you see.
What is the formula? If I may just interrupt you, because here we are talking about figures. How do you arrive at this conclusion, or rather, how would you calculate that how much time a voter takes to cast his vote? Like a voter enters into the polling booth, then he goes, gets his fingers imprinted, shows his documents, walks up to the polling machine, the voting machine.
Gets the
sorry.
Gets the mark.
Yes.
Marked.
Right. So finger marked, then casts the vote, check it there, and then come out.
Then there's a downtime of 7 seconds, and then come out.
Right.
Now, how did I come to this conclusion that, in 7 to 9, this much time was taken. 9 to 11, this much time was taken. Now, when the reporting is done, from 7 to 9, they'll give you this much percentage of polling happened. So, if you know the total polling percentage at the end of the day, then you calculate it backwards. Of that, if it is 18%, they said, then 18% you can calculate how many votes are there. In 2 hours, that is 60, 120 minutes. If you divide the total number of votes polled by 120, then you'll get how many seconds it took per vote. So that is the method by which I calculated how many votes were polled, how many seconds were taken to poll a vote between 7 and 9, 9 and 11, 11 and 1, 1 and 3, etc., in phase 1 and phase 2. Now, these are the numbers that I've arrived at. And was
there a particular formula? Was there a particular formula which helped you arrive at this downtime? How do you calculate that? That's a big question.
The downtime normally, you see, now what happens is, there are certain things
and also, I would want you to explain, sir, since we are explaining it to the viewers, let's explain what the downtime is. What is it? How do you calculate? And how do the viewers understand that?
Now, what is the time taken for a vote to be cast actually? First of all, let's see. Now, somebody enters from the queue into the room. let's say it takes 5 to 10 seconds, and then show the identification, and both the polling party agents as well as the polling personnel will check. That will take about 20-25 seconds or 30 seconds sometimes. Then the polling personnel will have to record that Neelu Vyas has entered. That is called Form 17A. So they'll have to fill it up. That takes about 20 seconds or so. And then what happens is that they take Neelu Vyas's signature or thumb impression. That takes at least about 10 seconds. And then the ink is marked. That would take at least 5 to 8 seconds. And then the slip is given. And then that takes about 8 seconds or so. Then the polling officer there, the presiding officer, activates the control unit. That takes about 5 to 8 seconds. And then you go into the compartment. That takes about another 15-20 seconds. And then you press, and it takes about 7 seconds to reset, and you have to exit the thing and make the compartment ready for the next. So all this takes time. That is. The second thing is that personnel will have about a tea or water break throughout the day, at least 15 to 20 minutes altogether. Then you have lunch rotation. You'll have to have lunch, or that's about 15 to 30 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes at least, even if you have it quickest. Then you have a little toilet breaks here and there, maybe another 10 minutes or so. Then you have, your efficiency as the day goes on, your efficiency comes down a bit, at least. That takes away the efficiency by about another 15 to 20 minutes or so. And then you have, the CEO of West Bengal had himself gave a notification saying that there are about 1,20,000 elderly voters above 50. And among them, more than about 60,000 or so are more than 60 years. So these people take a little longer than you and I do, or you do at least. And then sometimes party agents say, no, Neelu Vyas thing is not here, and some little disputes here. And then sometimes the presiding officer intervenes to settle that. That takes away at least 10 to 20 or 30 minutes or so in the entire day. So you have at least about an hour and a half eaten up by this kind of a thing. This is downtime. Now, then you have the machine downtime. Machine downtime, sometimes the mock poll itself spills over for another 5 minutes or so. Sometimes the EVMs create some problems. Then it has to be replaced. Then either some dispute, some law and order situation or something like that, then there is a problem. Then the queue, there might be some disruption, and maybe the candidate enters, and at least another 5 to 10 minutes is taken, because every candidate has a right to come and inspect and then go. At that time, the polling is paused. All these things also take. See, this is downtime. And if this downtime can you bring this downtime to zero? If you bring this downtime to zero, even then, only then can a vote be cast at the rate of 39 seconds a vote. Okay. Now, if that increases to 60 seconds, then if it increases to, say, 70 seconds or 75 seconds, so anything which is less than 54 seconds, because the average booth polling is about 738 votes. It could be less, little somewhere, it could be more somewhere. But on average, the entire state, it is 738. If that you take the figure, then you see, if it is anywhere less than 54 seconds. You cannot poll 738. You could have only polled, say, about 600. And it is slightly more than it is even 540, 550. So where did this 738 come from? How did they come from? How did they come and where did they come? This is
So,
the
what
question.
does it look like? I'm trying to just understand, and just picking from what you are explaining, you are saying that where did these extra votes come from? Extra votes or faster voting process, which was seen. Now, how did this happen? Now, was the machine tampered? Was the machine programmed to do this? Or was it some outside force? God knows what was it? How do we see that? How does one explain this?
Neelu, I want you to imagine once, before we go into that question, I want you to imagine, and I want your viewers also to imagine. We have all voted. Now, just recall, how much time did you take to enter the booth and do all these things that I've said and come out? Just imagine. Recall. That's one. Secondly, also try to imagine if you leave a fly into the polling booth. For the fly to enter the polling booth and just fly around and come out, how long does it take? Can the fly come out in 30 seconds, 31 seconds, 35 seconds, 39 seconds? Can it? Just to fly around and come, not doing, showing your identity, getting your sub-marked, signing it, getting the slip.
Can't come out in 30 seconds, surely.
So that is the pace of voting that has happened in West Bengal. Now, you asked me, how did this happen? I don't know. We have to find out. I think the Election Commission will have to be open to this challenge. Either they should say, look, Parakala, Neelu, you don't know. It is possible to have a person cast their vote in 39 seconds. We'll show you that. And, like the Charlie Chaplin movies, people can, just go out and come out. And at the same pace throughout for 10 hours without any downtime.
So was this Bengal election, I'm just going to use the word what you said, like a Charlie Chaplin film. So was Bengal election result almost like a Charlie Chaplin film? At least the figures what you're quoting?
It looks like that, otherwise, how is it possible at all to have it for 53.7 seconds without downtime? And that is the average. As I said, there are patches of time or in which
On average, you're saying 54 seconds. 54 seconds a person takes to finish the voting process and come out.
54 seconds per vote.
Per vote.
That is average. But within that 54 seconds, certain parcels of time, you had 42, you had 39 seconds also. How is it possible for anybody to cast a vote in 39 seconds? You show me. Now, when you can't show me that somebody can indeed cast their vote in 39 seconds, or 40 seconds, or 42 seconds, or 50 seconds, or 51 seconds, then you'll have to be open to be inquired. How did this